What happens when the world punishes you simply for loving the wrong person? These 15 films are not fiction. They are real stories of real men who fought, suffered, and sometimes died just to be who they truly were. Stay with us, because some of these will absolutely wreck you. Number 15, Pride.
Yes, lesbians and gays support the minors.
What's going on?
Thank you.
It is 1984, and Margaret Thatcher's government is crushing Britain's coal miners in the longest strike in history. A young gay activist named Mark Ashton watches police brutalizing miners on the news and recognizes something familiar. The same police who attack pride marches are now beating workers. He forms Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners and begins collecting donations outside gay bars. No mining community wants their help until one small Welsh village accepts. What follows is an awkward, moving collision of two worlds. Conservative mining families slowly bond with flamboyant London activists. Genuine friendships form across every divide. When London Pride arrives the following year, buses full of miners travel to march at the front of the parade, the first time organized labor had ever done so. That alliance changed British politics and laid the groundwork for Labour's eventual support of LGBTQ rights. It proved that solidarity across difference is not just possible, it is powerful. Number 14, Kill Your Darlings.
You gotta get me out of here. He nailed the window shut while I was in the bath.
Dad didn't do that, Mom.
In 1944, a young Allen Ginsberg arrives at Columbia University, desperate to escape his troubled home life. His mother suffers from severe mental illness, and his father is barely holding things together. He meets Lucian Carr, a magnetic, reckless young man who introduces him to jazz clubs, drugs, and radical ideas about art. Through Carr, Ginsberg meets William Burroughs and Jack Kerouac, the future Beat generation. But at the center of this creative explosion is darkness. Carr is being stalked by David Kammerer, an older man who has followed him obsessively from city to city for years. Ginsberg himself is falling for Carr, who manipulates everyone around him. One night by the Hudson River, Carr stabs Kammerer to death and dumps his body in the water. The case becomes a sensation. Carr claims self-defense against a homosexual advance and serves 2 years. The event shatters the group, but fuels the raw, confessional honesty that will define the Beat movement for decades to come. Number 13, Maurice.
We want tea!
In Edwardian England, Maurice Hall forms a deeply romantic relationship with fellow Cambridge student Clive Durham. Their love remains chaste, acting on it would be criminal. Then Clive conforms to society, marries a woman, and shuts Maurice out. Maurice is left hollowed out. Seeking doctors and hypnotists to cure himself, nothing works. Then he meets Alex Scudder, the gamekeeper on Clive's estate, working class, direct, and unashamed. For the first time, Maurice experiences physical love. After initial fear and misunderstanding, both men realize what they have is real. Maurice makes the extraordinary decision to abandon his class, career, and entire social world to be with Alec, choosing love over everything society says he should want. Number 12, And the Band Played On. In 1981, young gay men begin dying from rare diseases their immune systems should easily fight. Dr. Don Francis at the CDC sounds the alarm, but no one listens. The Reagan administration ignores the crisis. Congress refuses funding. The blood banking industry insists their supply is safe and fights any regulation that might cost them profits. A petty rivalry between American and French scientists over who discovered the virus delays critical research by months. Meanwhile, entire friend groups in San Francisco and New York are wiped out. Bathhouses remain open because politicians are too afraid to act. The gay community itself is divided, and some refuse to believe the virus is sexually transmitted. Year after year, the death toll climbs. By the time the virus is named HIV and a blood test developed, thousands are already buried. The film ends with the devastating realization that nearly every death could have been prevented if anyone in power had cared enough to act sooner. If these stories are hitting you the way they hit us, consider hitting that join button to become a member of the PrideFlix family. It helps us keep telling the stories that matter. Number 11, The Normal Heart.
I've never seen or heard of anything like this. This seems to only be happening to gay men.
In 1981 New York, writer Ned Weeks watches in horror as friends begin dying from a mysterious disease that nobody in power wants to acknowledge. He teams up with Dr. Emma Bruckner, one of the few physicians taking the illness seriously, and founds Gay Men's Health Crisis to demand government action. But his confrontational, abrasive style alienates everyone. The mayor's office will not return his calls. The New York Times refuses front-page coverage, and even his own organization finds him too aggressive. His lover, Felix Turner, contracts the virus. As Felix deteriorates, losing weight, losing strength, losing time, Ned is pushed out of the very group he created because his fellow leaders want diplomacy, not war. In the end, Ned marries Felix in a hospital room, just before Felix dies. Number 10. Tom of Finland.
These are your men.
You make these different boys feel special, beautiful.
You better go to prison for this.
After serving in World War II, Tuukko Laaksonen returns to Finland where homosexuality is illegal. Working as an ad executive by day, he draws at night. Hyper-masculine men in leather, confident, joyful, and openly sexual. Not the ashamed gay men society expects, but men who are powerful and free. Published under the name Tom of Finland, his art becomes an underground sensation across the gay world. But his real life remains painful. His partner Veli faces constant harassment, friends are arrested, and Tuukko lives in constant fear of exposure. Over decades, his drawings are recognized not just as erotica, but as a revolutionary act that gave gay men permission to see themselves as worthy of celebration. Number 9. Bent. Max is a reckless gay man enjoying Berlin's underground scene until the Nazis come. His lover Rudy is beaten to death before his eyes on a transport train. In the concentration camp, Max denies being gay and registers as Jewish because the pink triangle ranks even lower than the yellow star. He meets Horst, a gay prisoner who refuses to hide. Assigned to the meaningless task of moving rocks back and forth, they begin a relationship conducted entirely through whispered words, forbidden to touch or even look at each other. They describe making love while staring straight ahead, hands at their sides. When Horst is killed, Max finally claims his identity, pins on the pink triangle, and walks into the electrified fence. Number 8. Great Freedom.
Så sist na syna. Manota. Ito, yes.
Over several decades, Iran drains from the 1940s through the 1960s. Hans Hofmann cycles in and out of German prisons each time. Arrested under paragraph 175 for the crime of loving men, the same law the Nazis used. In prison, his unlikely companion is Victor, a convicted murderer who initially despises Hans. Over years of sharing a cell across multiple sentences, Victor slowly comes to understand and care for him. Outside, the sexual revolution and gay liberation movements are gaining strength. But none of it reaches Hans in time. He remains trapped by a law that treats his existence as criminal, and the film asks an unbearable question. What does freedom mean for a man whose country has decided he does not deserve it? Number 7. Before Night Falls.
I give you 2 cigarettes.
Carlota.
Tell her that I miss her so much.
Your awards or mine?
Ronaldo Arenas grows up in poverty in rural Cuba, discovering early that he is both a writer and gay. After the revolution, Castro's regime has no tolerance for either. His novels are banned in Cuba. He is arrested, thrown into prison, and brutally tortured, not just for being a dissident, but specifically for being homosexual. Castro's government rounds up gay men and sends them to labor camps. Arenas endures unspeakable conditions, but continues writing, hiding pages wherever he can. He smuggles manuscripts out of the country and eventually escapes during the 1980 Mariel boat lift, arriving in New York. But freedom does not bring peace, only poverty, obscurity, loneliness, and then AIDS. As his health fails, he works frantically to finish his autobiography. In 1990, too sick to continue, he takes his own life. Number 6. 120 beats per minute.
Jusque pas de choper votre connerie de sida, hein, en attendant.
In early 1990s Paris, ACTUP activists fight a government doing almost nothing about AIDS, storming pharmaceutical offices, throwing fake blood at politicians. Young member Sean falls in love with Nathan, an older activist who is HIV positive. Their romance unfolds against constant funerals and screaming matches with indifferent bureaucrats. Politicians offer empty words. Nathan's health declines. Their love becomes intertwined with grief, rage, and the ticking clock of a virus that will not wait, literally counting the beats per minute, both on the dance floor and in the bodies of men running out of time. Number 5. Firebird.
Sexual relations of a man with another man, which is punishable by 5 years imprisonment in a hard labor camp.
Sergei, a young Soviet private, falls for Roman, a dashing fighter pilot at a military base in occupied Estonia during the late 1970s. Homosexuality in the Soviet military means imprisonment and hard labor. They begin a secret affair, stolen moments in empty rooms, constant terror. When a female colleague discovers the truth, Roman marries her as cover, gutting Sergei. They separate but cannot stay apart, reconnecting in Moscow even as the KGB closes in. Their love survives for years in the shadows, but the cost is enormous. A decades-long story of two men ground down by a government that considers their love a crime against the state. Number 4. The Imitation Game.
Mr. Turing, do you know how many died because of it? I don't. 3. While we've been having this conversation.
Alan Turing, a brilliant and socially awkward mathematician, is recruited to crack the Nazi Enigma code at Bletchley Park during World War II. His colleagues think his idea of building a code-breaking machine is insane. He clashes with everyone, but perseveres. And when his machine finally works, it changes the course of the war, shortening it by an estimated 2 years and saving millions of lives. After the war, instead of being celebrated as a hero, Turing is prosecuted for homosexuality. Convicted in 1952, he chooses chemical castration over prison. The treatment devastates his body and mind. In 1954, Alan Turing dies from cyanide poisoning at 41. It took the British government over 50 years to officially apologize. Number 3. Milk.
Society can't exist without the family.
We're not against that.
Can two men reproduce?
No, but God knows we keep trying.
At 40, Harvey Milk stops hiding. He moves to San Francisco with his lover Scott Smith, opens a camera shop on Castro Street, and becomes the neighborhood's most vocal champion. He runs for office again and again, losing repeatedly, but each campaign builds a larger coalition. Not just gay voters, but union workers, seniors, and minorities. In 1977, he wins a seat on the Board of Supervisors, becoming one of the first openly gay elected officials in American history. He fights and helps defeat Proposition 6, which would have banned gay and lesbian teachers from California schools, but his rise earns him a dangerous enemy in fellow supervisor Dan White, a conservative former police officer who feels increasingly marginalized. On November 27, 1978, White enters City Hall through a basement window, shoots Mayor Moscone dead, then walks down the hall to Milk's office and shoots him 5 times. Harvey Milk is killed at 48. That night, over 30,000 people march silently through the streets of San Francisco carrying candles. Number 2. Holding the Man.
John Callion, will you go round with me?
Yep.
In 1976, at an all-boys Catholic school in Melbourne, 15-year-old Tim Conagrave falls in love with John Callio, the football captain. Against all odds, John loves him back. Their relationship begins in secret. Whispered conversations, stolen glances, the constant terror of discovery by priests and classmates. But Tim and John hold on. They survive school, survive their family's complicated reactions, survive university, and build a relationship that lasts 15 years. It is not a fairy tale. They fight, they struggle with what it means to be gay men in a world that offers no model for lasting love. Then AIDS arrives. Both are diagnosed HIV positive. John deteriorates first. Tim cares for him until the end. Tim dies from AIDS-related illness just days after completing the book. Their story becomes one of Australia's most beloved memoirs. Number 1. Prayers for Bobby.
I know if we trust in God, we can get through this. It's curable with His help.
We still love you, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks.
Bobby Griffith is a gentle, sensitive teenager growing up in Walnut Creek, California, in the early 1980s. His mother, Mary, is deeply religious, a devout Presbyterian who believes the Bible is the literal word of God. When Bobby comes out as gay, Mary is convinced it is a sin that can be cured. She takes him to church counselors, leaves Bible verses on his pillow, and tells him God will heal him if he prays hard enough. Bobby tries, he prays, he goes to therapy. He does everything his mother asks. None of it changes who he is. The message he receives daily from the person he loves most in the world is that he is broken, sinful, and an abomination. On August 27, 1983, 20-year-old Bobby walks onto a highway overpass and jumps into the path of an oncoming truck. After his death, Mary discovers his diary and for the first time understands the depth of his pain, how her words, spoken from what she believed was love, had slowly destroyed her son. Mary Griffith undergoes a complete transformation. She educates herself, leaves her church, and becomes one of America's most prominent advocates for LGBTQ youth. These were not just movies, they were lives. If even one of these stories stayed with you, share this video with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe to PrideFlix, and we will see you in the next one.